been following this issue, James, for some time. I wrote an article, oh, golly, probably about 9 years ago or so for Guns and Ammo magazine called Who's Watchdog, which was basically about how the NGOs are being formed to fight various UN gun grabs. And so I've been following this issue for quite some time.
And your conclusion then on where this is going? Now I had information, David. Now help me out with this, because I feel a little caught between what the NRA is saying and the information that I have. And I should have gotten it during that little quick break we have there, but I don't have it right here in front of me now. But I show a list of 58 countries who are already supporting this issue. And maybe I used the wrong language when I said signed on. Maybe I should have said that are on a positive side of the... What information can you help me with this?
Okay, I don't know what countries, if any, have actually ratified anything, because as Ms. Parsons said, there is no actual text at this point in time to an arms trade treaty. So my suspicion is that these are countries that have indicated that they are receptive to signing on to and ratifying an arms trade treaty. As we'd communicated earlier by email, I told you that I'd written a Gun Rights Examiner column back in October, which was titled Hillary Clinton Reanimates the Arms Trade Treaty. And this is something that has been discussed through various administrations. The Bush administration had put the kibosh on it and said, no, we're not interested. We're going to have our own laws that are part of this. But Hillary Clinton reversed that, and she said that the United States would be willing to sign on to an arms trade treaty, provided, and she gave the qualifier, that a consensus would be reached, whatever the heck that means. You know, as far as I'm concerned, if Raul Castro and Robert Mugabe have a consensus that they want to take my guns, we're going to have an issue, and I don't care who reaches consensus on that. But in fact, that was not good enough for Rebecca Peters and IANSA, and they're going, oh no, we don't want to have consensus. We basically just want to dictate what you guys can have. And what an interesting group of control freaks those people are. And we can talk about that, but you know, there are some international arms agreements that already are in place, and there are several that are in the works. For instance, you may not or may not be aware of the DDTC, and what that stands for is Directorate of Defense Trade Controls. And what they do is they administer something that anyone who's involved in the defense industry or firearms exports knows about, called ITAR. And ITAR are the International Trade in Arms Regulations. Well, this can be as far-reaching as saying that you're not allowed to export certain classified code that could be used in software systems and things like that, up to and including you know, advanced ordnance systems and things of that nature. So there already are international agreements and treaties that are in effect that we're operating under. There are several others that are in the wings. All of these kind of fall under the umbrella of the United Nations Firearms Protocol. But another one that we should be watching is called SIFTA, and that stands for the Inter-American Convention Against Illicit Manufacturing of and Trafficking in, sorry, it's long, firearms, ammunition, explosives, and other related materials. And this is basically a Western Hemisphere type of international gun control treaty. And Gun Owners of America has done a little bit of analysis on this, and they give us an interesting warning that, you know, how they're talking about illicit, and everybody listens to that and goes, oh yeah, well, you know, we can't have illicit weapons because that means, you know, criminals and gangbangers and people like that are going to be, you know, killing us with illegal guns. But illicit means what the rulers want it to mean. And if they want it to mean that you and I owning firearms is illicit, then that's what they're going to have it mean. And GOA further goes on to say that illicit manufacturing, according to their analysis, could be anything including assembly of firearms or ammunition without a license. So if you reload, that's what they'd want to go after.
Right.
Rachel Parsons was exactly right that a treaty has not been ratified. We have not put it through to our Senate. We have not had the necessary supermajority to go ahead and ratify it, and it hasn't been signed into law. So we are still far away from actually having that happen. Okay?
All right, good, good. Well, that's what we need to know. Now, on the scale of 1 to 10, am I the only one here that's in a panic? Should I be in a panic over this or not?
I would not say that you should be in a panic over it. I think that you're absolutely 100% correct to be ahead of the curve in terms of getting people to think about this and consider it to be a priority that they want to at least focus some attention on, and make sure that they're aware that these types of things are intended by our, prospective overlords, if and when we ever give them that opportunity. I actually take a somewhat different perspective on it, and I'm going to disagree with the conclusion at the end of the NRA-sponsored video that we are in danger of losing our rights, only because my rights are not granted, nor are they dictated by any government or any international body. Our rights are not granted by the Bill of Rights. The Second Amendment is not granted by the government. It merely recognizes a pre-existing right that we all have, what we know as unalienable rights. And my rights will be taken from me when I surrender them, and or I'm no longer around, and not a moment before that. And so I think that as long as enough of us have that attitude, you know what, I don't care personally what noises Rebecca Peters and George Soros and people like that make. They show their support base on the website, all the groups that are behind it, and they're for the most part AstroTurf groups. They're funded by entities like Soros. They're also funded by things like the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation, and I saw that the Million Mom March signed onto it on the screen, which is the Brady Center and the Joyce Foundation. And these are not things that have popular grassroots support. And I personally can't think of anything that galvanizes and gets under the American gun owner's skin more than the thought that some foreign kleptocrat, particularly from the UN, Rush Limbaugh called it a Star Wars bar scene, and I thought that was very appropriate. But the thought that they're going to come here and dictate to us what our rights are, not going to happen. And if you want to just start invoking the grand American tradition of civil disobedience, articulated wonderfully by Thoreau, actually practiced before that in the Zenger and the Penn trials, brilliantly displayed within my and your lifetime by Rosa Parks, saying, I don't care what the law says, you're not going to tell me that I as a human being have to take second-class citizen status on public transportation. Not going to happen. And so as long as we have that line in the sand and we think about where that is, if the UN wants to declare all guns are illegal tomorrow, I'm not giving mine up. Hopefully you're not giving yours up. And hopefully if enough people join us, just as an individual predator will not attack an individual who appears able to protect himself, the Second Amendment will be working, and an armed citizenry will be enough of a deterrent to keep anyone from even trying anything that foolish.
Yeah, well, actually, I think you and I and many, many others fall in that Charlton Heston category where you're going to have to pry it. And I think that's safe to say that no matter who tries to restrict that Second Amendment, and whatever level of government they do it on, they're still going to have to try to pry it out of our hands. I don't think any of us are prepared to give that up, and we'll fight to continue our right to keep it. Although you did refer earlier to the Constitution, and I did have, I'm going to get to that towards the end of the show actually. We did receive some mail on a statement that I made last week, and again, you've just cleared it up on, you must have heard it too.
I did, and you know what, I started to step in and I was going to say something to you about it, but then all of a sudden you came in and you started pronouncing my name correctly and telling everybody, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to mess with that.